Welcome everyone. This is What Lies Within. I'm Nova.
And I'm Scarlett.
We're so happy that you're here. We know we haven't been very consistent. We kind of put 2 episodes out a few weeks back and haven't made another one, but better late than never, right? So, we've been getting a couple of submissions per week. It's been wonderful. We've read almost all of them, and the way we do that is as soon as we get them, we're very curious. I announce it to Scarlett. We read the submission. We sit in thought. We may or may not talk about it. It really depends on what the topic is and what's going on at that moment. But we've seen most of them, and we are just really excited. So a few weeks back, we got 2 submissions back to back within an hour of each other. And they kind of go with what I already wanted to talk about in the 3rd episode, which is awesome. So we're going to do 2 of those submissions today. Don't forget, if you want to send your submissions, you can go to my website, novarayxo.com. That's Nova, N-O-V-A, Ray, R-A-E, XO.com. Just go to the podcast section and you'll see where you can submit your story or problem. So we're going to go over 2 submissions today, and I'm going to talk, after we read submission 1, I'm going to talk about that one, and then we'll go on to submission 2. So stick around for those, and I guess that's about it. Let's get into it. Do you want to read the submission, Scarlett?
Yeah.
All right.
Submission 1. We keep breaking up over the same issues. I try to express how I feel, and it somehow turns into him saying I'm too sensitive, dramatic, or always bringing up a problem. He says he wants to understand me, but when things get uncomfortable, he shuts down, gets defensive, or yells. So it seems that he has a avoidant
Attachment style.
Yeah.
Definitely sounds like that so far.
They say, but why can't I just stop talking about things that upset me? Every time we break up, I walk away thinking maybe I really am overreacting. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe if I could just say things the right way or act differently, everything would finally be okay. This isn't the first time we've broken up, and it's been weeks now, but I still can't move on. I keep replaying arguments in my head and wondering who's actually toxic here. Maybe it's me. I've even heard that growing up, especially after my mom passed away, that I was too sensitive. I guess my questions are, what went wrong? Who's really the toxic one? How do I move on? And any advice or maybe even a reading would help. They say, here's one example. The last argument started because I said I felt dismissed when he didn't respond to something important I shared. He immediately took offense and said I was accusing him of being a bad person. Suddenly the conversation was about me attacking him instead of how I felt.
All right. Well, that sounds completely heartbreaking, and I definitely would love to pull some cards for you, so I'm really glad that you asked for advice as well as asking for a reading, because I feel like that could be a nice mix. And so I'd also like to end this whole episode with actually pulling one or a couple of oracle cards just to kind of close it off. So let's get into the actual patterns that I'm seeing. Like Scarlett mentioned, we're seeing the avoidance here. And what does that mean, Scar?
Basically, what avoidance looks like is somebody pushing away whenever a conflict comes up between them and the relationship, and they kind of don't know how to feel about it because the emotions that they're feeling just make them uncomfortable. So all they know to do is just like suck it up and go away.
Yep, exactly that. And it can look a little different for certain people, right? But that's really sort of the pattern that we see with all avoidance. So I really want to mention that for a lot of relationship problems, yes, someone can be, quote, toxic. One person can be the toxic one, both people can be toxic, but I want to say that someone who is avoidant or just has a tendency to avoid certain emotions and feelings might not be avoidant in other relationships. I don't know this person, but I just want to kind of talk about how things can be different. It's not as black and white as we would like it to be. It's not clearly cut out. Sometimes there's a lot of layering. Sometimes it's very confusing. Sometimes people have mixed attachment styles. So we also don't want to just for sure put that label on this person. But yes, these are very avoidant traits. So sometimes we can feel very secure in relationships, and then we meet a person who possesses more of an anxious attachment style that can trigger our avoidance. Or even just, seeking peace, something like that. Seeking peace and saying, you know what, I'm not going to let anybody mess with my nervous system. If I feel that my nervous system is getting heightened, I'm going to withdraw for safety. Yeah. So, it doesn't have to be that toxic avoidant. It could just be someone protecting their peace, or they legitimately freeze and don't know how to express that. I guess I've appeared somewhat avoidant in certain situations, and then I appear anxious with certain situations. That can be very normal too. So it's not a one-size-fits-all type of thing.
Yeah, so I know that it can probably trigger somebody who takes everything that somebody is saying, like any type of tip or somebody just trying to help them out, just turning that into criticism and getting offended by it and just like either shutting down or just being rude and just being passive aggressive towards everybody. Just because they're feeling that way, even if it wasn't actually meant to be taken that way.
Yeah. Yes, there are those people that take offense to a lot of things. Because we know someone can say something that's just a terrible remark or like a passive aggressive remark. And we know the people that literally call out stuff that's clearly an insult or not okay. But then there are people that literally take a very neutral comment or boundary as a personal attack, just like Scarlett said, taking offense to it and getting their feelings hurt, being extra sensitive. And then, to go even further than that, there are some people that sort of use that as a weapon. They weaponize everything, and rather than doing it because their feelings got hurt, they do it in a way to flip the script on purpose. There's even, I want to talk about this in another episode a little bit more, but there's even when people Darvo you. Darvo is really interesting. There's the, I could be wrong about this exactly, but I will put the words the correct way on the screen. And I'm sorry for those of you that are just listening because you won't be able to see that. Just trust me, but Google it later. So Darvo is essentially when they defend their actions, they attack you and bring up things that you did instead, and then they flip the victim and offender. So when you present them with your issues, instead of them listening to what you're saying, they translate it as an attack. Whether it's on purpose or not, you can still Darvo somebody, but basically you hear criticism, and instead of taking that as something positive, like that person is taking their time out to talk to you about something that bothers them and they care about you, they take it as, oh, you know what, I don't like this. This is uncomfortable for me. So rather than take their criticism, I'm going to mention 5 things or even just one thing that they do wrong. Oh, yeah? Well, what about last week when you did this? Or what about the fact that you do this and that? So they have made it about them, and then they play victim, and you are somehow now the offender. And I know that that's a lot to take in, but it's important to know and keep in mind when in a relationship and when trying to give titles or diagnose someone, there are different levels. So we have level 1 is just misunderstanding and having a different environment growing up. But basically, both people are secure. Once in a while, they tick each other off and they do something sort of toxic because we're human, you know? Just have like a little toxic trait or red flag. And then there's like level 2 where we're kind of getting into more of that trauma and looking at things through the lens of either fear or negativity. And then like level 3 would be they're actually probably doing it on purpose. You know, they're very self-centered, and instead of wanting to hear you, they just want to make you feel bad. So they do it and they flip the script on purpose. Whereas level 2 would be they still kind of do it, but it's not on purpose. Do you see the distinction? So something like that. Just kind of think about it, how there are different levels. How many levels? I don't know. There's probably so many because there's different people, different circumstances, different environments.
Yeah.
And then not to mention our zodiac signs, like our personalities. Have you guys taken that test or figured out what your personality type is? It's very, very interesting. And I feel like, you know, I say a lot in my content that I don't like looking at things as man versus woman, or these are men traits and women don't do that, because I feel like a lot of what I talk about, like people pleasing, being avoidant, things like that aren't really for men versus women. It's literally just people. So you can be an avoidant narcissistic woman or a man. You can be overly sensitive with emotions and be a man. And it doesn't mean that you are acting feminine. People are all different. So when you hear people say things like, oh, all men are the same because they do this, you have to keep in mind that that person probably only dates men, or they've only seen that pattern in men. That's their own perspective. I don't like saying stuff like that because I feel like it's not men versus women. It is a people thing. We have these issues because we are human beings. Quick side note, I hope that you guys don't hear my stomach growling in the video. It's growling so freaking loud. Can you hear it?
No, actually.
I feel like I'm going to be editing the videos and it's just going to be like so loud.
Your stomach is talking more than me.
Oh my god, that's so funny. Okay. So there's different levels. It's not healthy to really diagnose other people and label other people. It's not healthy to do that to yourselves. Just keep in mind that coming into alignment with yourself and healing isn't about fixing. It's about understanding and coming into things, even with arguments and even with relationships. It's healthy to come into things with curiosity, to learn and to understand. Think of it like you're reading a book. You are getting to know that person. And so when someone tries to share something, especially if it's vulnerable, about their thoughts and feelings, they are confiding in you. They're putting trust in you. So as much as we like to take things personal, and maybe we don't like it, but it's easier. It's easier to take things personal rather than stepping outside of yourself and saying and knowing that whatever they're experiencing is their perspective. It's not about being right or wrong. They are sharing how they feel. And if they feel negatively about something that you did, that is important. That's hard for them. That's not easy. There's a huge difference between someone sharing how they feel and being disrespectful. Those are two very different things.
There is actually multiple different ways that are right and wrong to express your feelings, and I think some of the wrong ways would be probably like not straight up saying it, but like beating around the bush and like
maybe like stonewalling and like being grumpy but not saying how you feel.
Yeah.
That's a terrible way.
But like showing it in other ways without actually saying how you feel.
And then you expect the person to decode what's wrong with you instead of just being an adult and telling them. Yeah.
Or straight up being like aggressive about it and being like, I don't like you. Like you suck. Like that's a bully.
Yeah, like I don't like when you do this, I don't like when you do that. Let me think of like a time where somebody told me something that I took as, all right, you don't have to say it like that. Jeez. I can't think of anything in particular, but I can definitely remember the feelings that I have and the way people come about it whenever I have an issue. Because honestly, if somebody's just telling me that they observed something within me and they want to know why I do it, or they tell me it makes them upset, then I will be curious. I'll ask them more questions, right? But if somebody comes at me like, matter of fact, you do this and you shouldn't because it's not a big deal, or don't feel anxious over this because that's not real, just cut it out, something like that. It's gross, I think, because like, why are you dismissing my feelings? First of all. Second of all, who are you and why are you acting like your thoughts and opinions are a fact? There are two people standing here. There's your feelings and then there's mine. Third, oh, I'm sorry, so I just can't share my own feelings because you make it about you? So those are some of the things that those things set me off. Those things tick me off. And actually, the person is really dismissing, invalidating, and making it seem like making it seem, but basically what invalidating and dismissing really means is making it seem like those emotions shouldn't be there. Because if they had that situation happen with them, they're saying basically that they would handle it like this, and that's the correct way. So you may be wondering, like, what dictates right and wrong then? Because when we talk about our own feelings, I say it's wrong of them to dismiss them. So that person may think, well, how are your feelings the only ones that matter? I'm bringing up my feelings now, so equal. Here's the difference. Here's the thing. This is what makes it wrong in that moment and what makes it okay. When someone approaches you with something, just because you are a nice person and care about them and want to show them respect, you should give them that space to share how they feel. That is not your time. You can bring up things at your own time. I hear all the time that people will only bring up stuff during confrontation because they say things like, well, why would I ruin a good day and talk about all this bad stuff? I could just bring it up, whenever you're on one and talking crap, and that's when I'll bring it up because we're fighting. That is a terrible way to think about stuff. That is not good because it invalidates your partner and it makes them feel like what they are bringing up it's not important. It doesn't matter to you because you are taking their space away from them. you are basically attacking their vulnerability and saying to them, actually, your stuff doesn't matter. I'm going to throw at you 3 other things. So how do you think that person is going to feel when they already were feeling down, when they felt like they can trust you, they approached you with something, and then you threw at them 3 reasons why they suck? That is not repair. That's not curiosity. So that can happen even with good intention. That doesn't necessarily mean toxic person. It doesn't mean bad. It doesn't mean right or wrong. It just means that they are not appropriately and respectfully bringing up problems in the correct way. And it is our job to give our partner safety, especially in those vulnerable moments. And we have to take our own shit and separate it from the equation. So another example is, do you know how they tell you in therapy or on movies and stuff like that? I've heard this so much, is you want to say I statements. The reason for that is you want to focus on it not being factual. Like, I feel like this whenever you do this, rather than you always ignore me. Try to stay away from always and never, unless it's actually true. If they always ignore you, of course, say that. But that's rare, right? So rather than saying you do this and you do that, stick with I feel like this. Sometimes people, no matter what, will take it as criticism. But if you really want to be with your partner, if you really want to understand these kinds of people, come at it with curiosity. But why does it make you feel that way? But stay firm on your boundaries. If you are presenting your problem, then you can tell them something like, I appreciate you sharing this, but can we please stay on topic first and talk about those things later? But let them know. Noted, you understand, but stay on topic. Don't let somebody take you in cycles. So the way you can move on from this person is understanding that this is also a pattern that your brain understands. You said in your life you were called sensitive, and you like to reflect and wonder how you can adjust the things that you say. So keep in mind that you feeling guilty, you wanting to be understood, you feeling invalidated, and you criticizing your own self means that you are a decent human being already, because you are trying to gain clarity and self-awareness. You also look at your own flaws, even if you're not perfect at it yet, even if you don't make a lot of changes yet. Self-awareness is always going to be step 1, and you have that. You need to remember that closure isn't about a conversation. Closure is a feeling of certainty that you work towards, something that you can sit in and say that you're ready to move on, that you deserve better, that when it comes to closure on somebody who's passed away, that's different. But I mean, when you're seeking closure for someone who's alive, and you can have that last conversation with. Remember that the reason you left, the reasons why your nervous system was heightened, was because you felt you were not allowed to be safe, or that you were under an attack. And I know that it's easy, especially for empaths, to feel bad for the other person. But let's look at the facts here. You shared how you felt, and you felt that you were constantly dismissed. Whether they were doing it on purpose or not, This is one of my favorite lines. I love saying this. Intent does not negate impact. We can still have huge impact over someone's behavior. And at the end of the day, the intention behind it does not change how we feel. It doesn't change how it impacted us. It can still cause just as much, if not more, trauma. It can cause an unhealthy dynamic. So someone can be a really good person, but if they are constantly making you feel emotionally unsafe, then that relationship is not safe for you. Your body knew that. Your nervous system knows that it didn't feel okay. And at the end of it all, you deserve to feel okay. You deserve to be vulnerable and open and yourself without having to walk on eggshells. I know it's hard. I know that sometimes it's better when something feels familiar. It's a scary world out there, and sometimes we don't want to go through things alone. Sometimes we don't want to be in our bed alone. Sometimes we miss the cuddling and the conversations that we had. But we should be allowed, first and foremost, peace. And for us to be ourselves without being criticized or called too sensitive. And you're probably thinking a lot about, well, I feel like I did that to them. They felt criticized. They felt like every time I talked to them, I was doing something bad. So how can I change? What things can I say? I will tell you this. Stop giving your energy and time and voice to someone who already made it clear that they won't or can't understand you. Because all that does is bring exhaustion to yourself, your peace, your energy. You waste a lot of time trying to be understood, heard, seen, and that really should be the bare minimum with friends, and it doesn't happen that way, unfortunately. I wish it was like that with family too, and just the way it is. I wish people saw us for who we really are instead of getting everything twisted. But if you're with someone who doesn't see the real you, that doesn't hear the things that you have to say, that doesn't care about them and just talks about them, what fulfillment are you getting there? It doesn't sound very nice or peaceful, and it doesn't sound like love. It sounds like, what does that sound like? Hurtful. That sounds toxic. So it's not about who's wrong, who's right, who's bad, who's good. But that's an unhealthy dynamic, and both parties don't deserve it. If you guys both want to do the work and you're willing to do the work, I feel like we should do the work inside of a relationship, outside of a relationship. It doesn't matter, but for ourselves. So if you feel like this person wants to do the work because they are serious with their own journey, I think that you could perhaps not move on and maybe try to just repair that relationship. But if that person has already made it clear that they can't or won't understand you, and every time you talk about yourself and the very things that make you you, or things that you want to get rid of, like your trauma that you're working on, and they shame you for it, criticize you for it, belittle you, or don't even listen and turn it into about them, how can you repair? How can you create a good dynamic in that relationship? And I'm sure that's something that you've already thought about and you've already understood, because you keep leaving or causing the quote problems and bringing it up to him because it's a problem and it's not getting repaired. It sounds like you are trying to repair. You have self-awareness. You are trying to grow as a person. The least that person can do is meet you halfway. You're just asking for the bare minimum, but you deserve even better than that. So it's time for the reading. Sorry for those of you that are just listening to the audio of the podcast and you can't see, but you can go watch this video on YouTube if you actually want to see the reading. So we've got the Strength card and the High Priestess. So this is telling me that you are very emotionally strong and you're working on your own intuition, your own spirituality, and self-awareness. And I'm going to pull some cards because I want some information on your ex. Okay, so we've got the Eight of Cups and the Moon. So this tells me that he really tends to walk away from emotions, just like straight up, this is what this is. Do you see this card here? This is going to be a very black and white reading on him. He is literally walking away. Cups represent emotions in the tarot. So that's perfect. That's exactly aligned with what we've been talking about. So this gives us more insight on the kind of person he is. Also, what I'm pulling from the Moon card is there's a lot under the surface that you or anybody, even himself, cannot get to. Because it takes a lot of digging, a lot of work to pull that stuff out from under. Is he ready to do that? Will he ever do that? Those are some of the questions that I feel like you don't have to act like you know his future or, like I said, diagnose him. But you know in your heart and soul, because it keeps coming up and your brain likes consistency. Your brain is good at pattern recognition. We know that. So when you see someone not being them true selves and closing the door on you and walking away, you know that it doesn't sit right with you because you want that person to be open, vulnerable, safe, free, mature, so they can bring stuff to the table too. Because right now, this is very uneven. This is very sort of fearful, but also very low energy, and this one is more radiant. So it kind of feels like you've been dimming your light a little bit. If you feel like you're hearing this and you feel like it's just totally wrong and you've been wrong about all this, that's one thing. Keep that stuff in mind. But I feel confident enough to say that everything I'm saying is already something that you've been thinking about. You've been aware of this. So how do you move on from this? What are some tips? So we got the King of Swords and the Fool. So the King of Swords is all about thoughts and intellect and very logical things here. So start sticking to the facts and what you know. Even if you talk a little bit about your own emotions, what are things that you know for sure based off of the past and patterns? What do you know for sure that you don't want to deal with anymore? What are things that are acceptable? Really logically think about whether someone can or cannot meet those needs. Also, you are young and vibrant and you have a lot of time in front of you. Where do you want to put that time and energy? What kind of things do you want to feel Do you want to feel peace, love, safety, security? What are the things that you want? And were you feeling that way when you were with someone that constantly walked away from the cups that you've built or filled? You're trying to build safety, security, love, peace, and you feel he's walking away from it. There's a whole world out there. Plenty of people that would love to help you fill those cups. But if not, you have yourself. And let me ask for confirmation on the advice that I'm giving you. We've got the King of Pentacles. This king has made his reality exactly how he wants it to be. It's not just about thoughts and feelings, but it's about taking actions and actually doing and creating what they want, what they think about, what they're trying to manifest, bringing it into the real world, not just talking about it, not just saying that. That tells me that this energy is more you, and that is the kind of energy you need around you. So you've got the High Priestess, the King of Swords, and the King of Pentacles, while he is confused and walking away. Oh, I even put them backwards and backwards. We hope that tarot reading helped. I feel like it really made a lot of sense and kind of confirmed what we were saying prior to that. So for this one, coincidentally, the very next submission was also about tarot. Yay, one of my favorite topics.
Submission 2. I've been feeling really drawn to tarot lately, but I don't know where to start. I'll pull cards and feel like I'll understand something right away, and then my mind jumps in and tells me I'm making it up or doing it wrong. I don't know how to tell the difference between intuition and anxiety. I end up Googling meanings and getting overwhelmed, and then I don't trust myself at all. I guess I'm wondering how you read tarot without memorizing everything, how you trust what you're seeing, and whether tarot is something you can really learn or if you have to be born intuitive. Any advice or maybe even a small reading would help.
I love this submission because it really describes what a lot of people deal with, and even I dealt with it when I was interested in reading tarot, because there's so many different meanings, so many definitions. You pull out a little booklet and it's a lot. It's like, how am I going to memorize this if the next keyword doesn't even make sense? It's just so much. I've even taught Scarlett how to read, and I'm glad that I found a certain method that worked for me before teaching her, because, oh my God, that was years ago, and you'd probably just be barely understanding it. Had you done it the way people do it when they rely on a book and learn every single one. Can you imagine? Oh my God, that's so much, because all the booklets are kind of different. So imagine learning that and memorizing that and not being able to read any other cards, and then you get a new deck and then you learn all of that one.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So I have a couple of tips, because I've taught hundreds of people how to read tarot, because I created my own method, which actually I'm really happy to announce, since we've gotten a couple submissions over this kind of stuff and people struggling with reading tarot. And I've also gotten messages recently of people interested in learning tarot. I have put out a tarot course. It's on my website. You can go join right now. It's only $55. It is an 8-week course. It's amazing. You could take your time through it. It's self-paced. You'll have all the stuff inside of it for a really long time. You can save it, you can screen record, you can download from there. It's all self-paced. There's videos with me talking just like this. There's slideshow presentations, there's quizzes, there's PDFs, a bunch of different stuff. So it's $55 right now, starting up and launching. It may drop sometimes, it may go up sometimes, but that's the price right now. Go and join. So I can share a few things that I've learned throughout the years that I also put in my course. First things first, you have to start working on trusting yourself, even if it's just about pulling out a card, and that's a bad example because that's what I read with earlier. Pulling out a card and looking at the images. Oh, this is a man and a woman, they're holding 2 cups and it reminds me of love. So that's what that means. You don't have to always memorize, but put something in your own head. Think about what it means for you and study the cards that you have and numerology and energy in every card, and learn as much on the foundations as possible. But when it comes to how do I read this particular card for this situation, it's about what it looks like to you. Also, I've done readings and something really stands out to me about a specific card. So every time thereafter that card comes out, it has kind of that same energy or feeling for me. So that's one thing that I definitely suggest doing. To answer your question about intuition being something you're born with or if someone can develop it. So with all psychic abilities, and intuition is part of those, we are all able to build it. It's like having a muscle. Someone might not have biceps that are visible, but it's there. They can still work on it, and slowly they will see results. That's the same with intuition. You can build the muscle, and just because you can't see it or you're not using it doesn't mean that it's not there, that you can't build on it. So we all have our own intuition. We all can receive energy in a certain way that makes sense for us. That's why we see a lot of the angel numbers and coincidences happening or synchronicities happening, is because that's how our brain can translate the feelings or the message at hand. So you're able to do this. Every one of you is able to read tarot cards. It's about believing your first instinct when it comes up. But even if you don't, even if you just read the definitions, you have to get familiar with yourself and what you're putting into the cards, what each one means for you, and trusting that whatever comes out is what needs to be heard in that moment. But I would love to help you with any other questions you guys might have. And I urge you to go at least read the description and see if it's something that you're interested in for my tarot course.
Your intuition is supposed to be neutral. It's not supposed to make you feel scared. It's not supposed to make you feel anxious. It's supposed to be not negative.
Yeah, it's just a neutral feeling, whereas anxiety can feel like fear and shaking and not sitting well.
Just being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. And that kind of thing can come up if you're second guessing yourself as well.
Now it's time for the oracle.
This is for everyone listening. This is your message of the day. So with oracle cards, we often keep a book because all oracle decks are very different. Oracle is pretty different than tarot. When it comes to oracle decks, they kind of have their own formats entirely, and the number of cards will be different too. So it's birthing a new age, birthing new creations, dreaming a new world into being. That's so pretty. Often our path is exactly the one that we don't feel prepared to walk. Walk it anyway. Often what is rising feels far bigger than we could possibly hold. Be a container for it anyway. Often our creations seem to have a wild, uncontrollable consciousness of their own. Birth them anyway. Often what is ours to do is the very thing that most intimidates us. Be courageous and do it anyway. We are birthing a new age. Right now, we're in a transition period between ages. In the process of allowing the old cycle to fall away and the new one to rise. Like driving in the fog and trusting the road will appear ahead. We need to release old identities and ways that no longer serve us, using our intuition as a compass. You are part of a group of souls who have been incarnated at significant periods of history preparing for this next exact moment. Dreaming a new world into being. It is time to give permission and space for what is beckoning within to be born. We are dreaming a new world into being. Beautiful. I hope that resonated with everyone.
That wraps up our episode for today.
Thank you so much for listening. If you're interested in getting a tarot reading from me, joining my one-on-one coaching programs, or joining one of my courses, please visit my website. I'm going to say it again for the people that are just listening. That's NOVARAEXO.com. We will see you guys next time on What Lies Within.